So today, the title of this Substack Live is there a GOP exodus, right? So obviously, the end of last week, over the weekend, which is when Republicans love to break news and when I want to take a break, but they continue to want to break news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Marjorie Taylor Greene announces her resignation, her retirement, if you will, from Congress January 5th, 2026. Now, Ahmed, let me tell you what got me. What got me is when I found out that Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she entered Congress 6 years ago, was worth $700,000. No small bit of change. Do you have any idea how much she's worth now?
Quite a bit.
$25 million. $25 million. Now, we've listened to Marjorie Taylor Greene over the last 6 years ad nauseum. You tell me a profession she could have gone into to make a $24 million jump in her net worth, other than insider trading inside of Congress. Just, Mike, just putting it out there. Maybe you and I should run. I don't know.
I mean, that or podcasting and grifting. There's only two, and it seems like she might do that next. But I don't know. I really think she went in there and clearly profited, and then now the timing of this resignation, 2 days I think after her pension drops.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate because I really thought she was, trying to showcase some, distance from Trump and was, trying to, we talked about this actually on MSNBC about her trying to, pave her way for maybe the post-Trump GOP, which I do think she could still do. But I think now it might be leaning more towards maybe media podcast empire as opposed to running in 2028. I think she might just see she doesn't want the heat. I think she sees more lucrative opportunities outside of Congress. And I think, either she'll be on the 2028 stage running to the left of JD Vance, shockingly, or she will be dropping a Bannon Light podcast and try to make some more money there,
So here's my thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene. One, I don't think that we've heard the last of her. I think that she has a strategy in what she was doing. She was trying to sane wash her last 6 years with the last few months of this junket of becoming a centrist Republican that she's tried to offer. And look, The View gave her space, CNN gave her space, and I wouldn't be surprised if some cable news outlet gives her a very cushy analyst position a la Scott Jennings, right, at CNN. But I don't think that we've heard the last of her. But what I will say that I find really interesting, and it was Representative Jasmine Crockett who said it, which was that she had about 2 weeks in the hot seat with Donald Trump, 2 weeks, as someone said on social media, of being treated like a Black woman, 2 weeks, right, of being called everything but a child of God. And she resigned. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. She had a lot of smoke over these last few years for her political opponents, for Democrats. But when the smoke came at her, all of a sudden it was just like, I got to go. But I got to go with a bag. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. I saw a tweet that also said that, liberals didn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene for years, but she never felt violent threats, right? That kind of shows you the moment Trump's heat gets on you, that's when you get the violent threats. So what does that tell you about this whole contrast between the right and the left and political violence? That's a different topic. But yes, with Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically, she just couldn't take the heat. This is, like you said, Jasmine Crockett, a Black woman who gets these kind of threats all the time. People who are on the opposition to Donald Trump that gets these threats consistently. Nancy Pelosi's husband attacks. This is the reality of being in the opposition to Donald Trump, not only getting federally targeted by the government itself we're going to get into all those probes, right, of targeting his political opposition, but getting threats and hate for simply opposing you on a vote, and she really saw, and again, I do think initially she was trying to chart out this political path alternative to Trump and say, look, she smelled his weakness. Yep. And again, that's what I think is the broader thing from this. I think still is the takeaway, is that although she couldn't take the heat from separating herself from him, or maybe this is part of the plan, and she actually just wants to get out of Congress so she doesn't have to face a wasteful primary and then mount a run for higher office later. But I do think overall, she was one of the first people. One thing she did get right is that this man is weak. This man dragging the party down. And now we're seeing that could be something Jake Sherman reported. Other early resignations could be mounting, and I think that is that is my biggest takeaway from this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, is that she knows that the future is not with Donald.
So you brought up Jake Sherman and the Punch Bowl reporting, right, from yesterday, which is expanded today, which is that folks are saying, and Kevin McCarthy, right, former Speaker of the House that was pushed out, Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of his biggest adversaries
Mm-hmm.
that got him pushed out of Congress altogether. He was on Fox with that dumb Jesse Waters, right? And so he's on Fox with Jesse Waters, and Kevin McCarthy says that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the canary in the coal mine for the Republican Party, especially the Republicans in the House. That what he is hearing, he echoed what Jake Sherman said, and maybe he was Jake Sherman's contact. I don't know. But he echoed that, look, she has a lot of power. She is, rejiggering her brand, but that she is the canary in the coal mine. And that if Mike Johnson doesn't pay attention, he could lose, right, the gavel and lose his entire caucus.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that reporting from Punch Bowl by the follow up from Kevin McCarthy? Like, are is it too good to be true? I guess is what I'm thinking. Is it too good to be true that Democrats could reclaim the House before the 2026 midterms because more Republicans are going to take the cue from Marjorie Taylor Greene and be like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'll take my money, I'll take my time, and I'll re-engage at another time.
I mean, I don't think it'll come before 2026. I think the flurry of resignations will come the day after, right? I think what will happen is there might be no one wants to be the person that triggers the majority flipping, right? So we might see a couple that resign right now because I think the margin is getting really close. So maybe a few will resign and then it'll probably stop, and then a flurry after they get absolutely shellacked in 2026. But I think Kevin McCarthy is basically his first true thing he said in a very long time, since January 6th,
Right.
when he was calling Trump out. And because the thing is, I think what this is more indicative of, maybe not a flurry of resignations imminently, but it's a recognition finally of what you and I have been saying for a very long time. What I was saying since my first article after Trump won in January or after he was inaugurated, was that he's overreaching and this is going to backfire
Yep.
immediately. And that's when I got less scared. Week one was when I was like, I was writing my project 2025 expecting methodical implementation. The second I saw him go in, I was like, oh, he's overreaching. He's done. He's done. He's got Musk in there with the chainsaw. They're going to overreach. They're not going to do this successfully. Now we're seeing that with his numbers on the economy. He's evaporated all the gains with Latinos, Black people, women, young people in the 2025 elections. It took the elections for them to see
Yep.
that he is doing what Lindsey Graham said he was going to do in 2016, that if we nominate this guy, he's going to destroy the Republican Party. Because now what we're seeing is a real unleashed Trump without the guardrails, without the competent people around him to restrain the idiocy. And this man has just popped off to a degree that is tanking the party. And now finally we're seeing some recognition of that. Marjorie Taylor Greene, like you said, canary in the coal mine. And I think going outside of 2026, the Republicans are going to lift their head up and realize, do you want to go down with this ship? Do you want to go down with this guy to W. Bush 2006, 2007, 2008 poll numbers, when this man's polling in the 20s and you can't get anything out of this? Or do you want to dip out now, go get some cushy lobbyist job, go get your podcast, go, distance yourself now before this
Yep.
shit really hits the fan, before the economy really starts to crumble? Do you want to, that's what MTJ did. MTG, she's gone. She's like, okay, this thing's about to hit the fan. Let me back
Yeah.
out, distance myself.
I don't want to rearrange the chairs on the Titanic, right?
Precisely.
Like she knows. And I think that this is what is very interesting about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And you're right. We did discuss this when we were on TV together, which is that if nothing else, she knows her constituents. If
Mhm.
nothing else, she knows her base. And what she knows is that the base is feeling betrayed by Donald Trump, right?
Yes.
When we're looking at the numbers on the economy, he is in the toilet. When we're looking at the numbers with regard to his enforcement of ICE and
Mhm.
militarizing states, numbers are in the toilet. But like his own base, even though they held up those signs that said mass deportation, they didn't think that they were going to have to see nannies and gardeners and teachers be pulled, by their hair brutally in front of them, right? They thought that this was going to be more of a serene disappearing, right? Like as opposed to an in your face kidnapping that
Yep.
they're being a party to day in and day out. And I think that, do you think, I guess is the question, that Donald Trump has lost the pulse of his base? Do you think that he's lost the pulse of his base? And if you do agree that he has, do you think that he cares?
I think he's definitely lost the pulse of his base. And also, I'm just responding to some people in the chat saying, I'm responding there. Also, thank you guys. Hit the like button. Keep commenting. Also, someone saying about the volume. Um, I'm going to switch to this, and I want you guys to comment and let me know. Think this sounds better. Does this sound better? Give me a thumbs up. Let me
To me,
know. Comments.
you said with the headphones, you sounded closer, but this sound like I hear you fine. But let's see what people in the comments say.
Is this better? Actually, I think I'm just gonna. Nope. Okay, they said no. This is not better. All right, I'm just gonna do
I
this.
think it's better. Yep.
Okay. All right. To your question, is Donald Trump
Has he lost touch with his base?
has he
And if
lost touch
so,
with his
does he
base?
care?
He has lost absolute touch with his base, and he is in a situation in which, and no, he does not care, right? So he basically has went to a place where he is overreaching before he fully consolidated power. So he's doing all of this extraneous nonsense. He is moving forward in a way where he's just focused on himself. And again, because this man has no more elections to run, he doesn't care. So
Right.
that's what's dawning on these House Republicans, is that they're the ones that have to pick up the heat for this. They're the ones that have to pick up the tab. They're the ones that are going to have to deal with the consequences, while Donald Trump is going to personally enrich himself. Donald Trump's going to raise prices on Americans. Donald Trump is going to do what he wants to do and then let Republicans lose their power while he goes off into his multi-billion-dollar crypto empire after this, and he's good. And I think what's happening here is that, yes, as Karen says there, they're going to be the ones that are going to have to catch the bag. These Republicans are going to be in a situation where they are left with this. And again, like you said, Marjorie Taylor Greene called this out. The Epstein stuff, it's a betrayal of MAGA. This is what we were talking about before. Like this coalition, people think it's just some maybe monoculture that just praises Trump. It's actually a pretty loose coalition now of people, right? You have those tech bros. You have the tech bro Elon crowd. You've got the Bannon wing. You've got the, that Maha, the Goipers, the Fuentes, neo-Nazis. And then you also have the Maha crowd, the wellness people who are apolitical before this, right? So you can't, if you're not governing and trying to keep a coalition together, they're going to fracture and it's going to crumble. And if you're raising everyone's prices unilaterally by yourself, they're going to recognize that you're not serving them. And I think that's what's happening with MAGA. They're realizing that they were grifted and they were conned.
Yeah, I mean, I think like at the end of the day, look, regardless of if Donald Trump had printed his 2028 hats, right? Like the pesky thing that he would love to get rid of, the Constitution, is obviously very clear that he does not have the legal authority to run again. I still believe, right, that everything that Donald Trump does is all about his hopes of invoking the Insurrection Act, right? I think that every time that he gets backed into a corner, particularly around the decision with regard to the Epstein files, is like then he does something violent, he does something, ridiculous in order to distract from that. But at the end of the day, I think that his base, like these Republicans, what Tom Massey had said, he said, Trump may help you in the 2026 midterms, but the fact is that after that he's gone. And if you don't vote with us on this Epstein, on the discharge of these Epstein files, then you're going to be known as protecting a pedophile, and that's what your legacy is going to be. Is that what you want? When Donald Trump is long and gone, right? Like what do you want to stand on? What do you want to be able to say? And I think that again, I do think to some extent that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the canary in the coal mine, because I think that what they are recognizing particularly those that voted for, which was all of them, that voted for the big ugly bill, right? That stripped away health care, that gave, cemented tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, that they knew that they were voting against all of their constituents. They knew
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't going to work for them. But they said, well, that's what daddy wants, and what daddy wants, daddy gets. But they don't have long-term vision. They don't have long-term planning outside of what Donald Trump is. So
Yes.
I want to switch gears because I do want to talk about, as you and I were talking on text, about some of the wins that we have seen.
Yes.
And most recently, I want to take a look at the Department of Justice, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a look at what federal judge Cameron Curry just decided in the Comey and James cases, which was that she threw them out. And why did she throw them out? Well, because Lindsay Halligan is not legally in her position, right?
Mm-hmm.
That essentially the lapdog attorney general, Pam Bondi, was directed by Donald Trump vis-a-vis his broke down social media platform to go ahead and indict people that his former U.S. attorney said there was not enough evidence there that they were not going to win. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not bring these indictments. Donald Trump said, you're fired. Right.
Yep.
Or they were forced to resign. They get in the beauty pageant woman, Halligan, and place her in illegally. She brings these indictments. The judge
Mm-hmm.
says, nah. She dismisses the case, though, Ahmed, without prejudice, right? Meaning that the cases can be refiled, but in terms of Comey, are not going to be refiled because the statute of limitation is over.
Yep.
And the feeling is that by the time they actually go through the proper legal channels to bring on an actual qualified U.S. attorney, that the statute of limitations will have also run out on the James case. Talk to me about your feelings with regard to Donald Trump seemingly having a consistent losing streak as it pertains to the judicial system.
Yeah, I mean, on this case specifically, it's first off wonderful to see, and many of us called this and saw it coming because this case had no standing regard. Like even there's so many other components. Like there was a selective prosecution, vindictive prosecution
Yep.
angle to this that could have got it dismissed. There's so many different areas, but now we're at the very baseline of no. Lindsay Halligan herself was improperly installed because you moved from one temporary prosecutor to another, and so basically they can't install another temporary prosecutor to do it. So basically, you're right. They'd have to now go through a nomination process. And guess what? No qualified prosecutor would pursue this. So therefore, these are probably virtually DOA, right? They might try
Yeah.
again, but we'll see. But again, I think first off, this is just a significant W for democracy because it shows that again, like I said earlier, Donald Trump overreached before he consolidated power. He had not yet fully corrupted the judicial system. He thought with all those installations of Trump
Yep.
appointees that they would do his bidding. No, these are lifetime appointments. This is the one area in the judiciary where lifetime appointments, I guess, paid off because they are bucking him in real time. The judiciary standing their ground. Rank and file prosecutors at the Eastern District of Virginia refused to put their name on it. So Halligan was up there by herself, which was key because Halligan's name was the only name on the indictments. So there was and because she herself was not valid, therefore the indictment was valid. There was no one else signing by. So there
Right.
were so many components to this that just made it so perfect. But the point is that this is what happens when Project 2025 moves too fast. Because what happened here, the premise of Project 2025 is the purging of qualified, competent civil servants and people
Yep.
within the government. You purge them, and then if you only prioritize loyalty above all else, loyalty above competence, you get a Lindsay Halligan that had never seen a courtroom and literally went in the wrong courtroom the first time I saw reporting. You get that kind of stuff where you get such unqualified idiocy and just loyalty prized where you stumble over your own feet. And you are in a situation where no one's around him telling him this is a bad idea or this won't work. There's no Don McGahn as a White House counsel saying, hey, this is actually illegal, or hey, do it in this way, or hey, rethink this, or hey, move slower. They're moving so foolishly. And again, like we talked about for months, this is exactly what we knew was going to happen. And now we're seeing it in real time. And one of the most demonstrable losses to his rich retribution campaign. And we're seeing it everywhere else. The National Guard deployments being struck down. We're going to see more challenges to these Venezuela strikes, international law, the UK saying, no, this is illegal. Again, he moved too fast because he's impatient. He did not wait. He implemented tariffs immediately. Like, again, if he had just went in there, and again, I can give now backwards advice without him taking it because it's too late, right? If he came in January, rode on the economy, stayed 50% approval rating, didn't touch the economy, slowly had Russell vote, remake the system, slowly consolidated power, slowly had Chief Justice Roberts just rubber stamp stuff quietly, I would have been horrified that we were moving towards dictatorship. We are now shifting to a different place of lame duck, backlash, resistance to Trump. And we are now in a different phase of his presidency. Yes, the threat is still there, but I think we can start to say confidently now that the possibility of threat level dictator Donald Trump is rapidly depleting, and we're moving more towards lame duck, damaging the Republican Party on his way out of politics route. Both possibilities still there, but like one is getting lower and it's feeling pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie, heading into the holidays.
No, I think that is totally right. I said right after the elections earlier this month, right? I said, we need to just start to refer to Donald Trump as a lame duck, right? Because my feeling was that smart dictators, right? Smart dictators and smart authoritarian figures, what they do, they give the people just a little bit. They give them just enough to like not revolt and to still operate from a place of anxiety and fear. But guess what? Oh, I've lifted millions of people out of poverty in the way that China has. Oh, I have built a really steadfast economy in the way that like Hungary has. There are some people that recognize that they have to keep the citizens just enough, like just give them enough, give them, a little piece of bread, give them a bone every now and then so that you can continue to have control. Donald Trump is greedy. And he is also erratic, right? But one of the reasons, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because one of the reasons why I think that he and this entire regime have moved at the pace that they have over the last 11 months or so is because Donald Trump is unwell, right? Like, it's because I don't know about you, but in my general practitioner, my general checkups, ain't nobody asking me to get an MRI unless they want to look at something that like they want to understand, which means that guess what? You don't have a 100% good bill of health because I want an MRI because I need to look closely at something. Donald Trump says, I passed the MRI with flying colors. One, I didn't know they gave out grades. But like, I think that the pace that they were moving, the pace that they had been moving is because they needed to get things done as fast as possible, because what if he only has, a year in him? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's enough anecdotal evidence now that something is going on. Like, he talked about this MRI and then he said he passed it with flying colors, but then he didn't know what was evaluated, wouldn't tell us if it was the brain. So that's how doctors work, right? They say, great job on the MRI. We're not going to tell you what part of your body we evaluated,
but
but
you're
you
aware of what
passed.
friggin' part was scanned.
A plus, A plus. Yeah, exactly, right?
You know what part was scanned?
Yeah, so that was fishy. And then also there's Cankles McGee, there's all that other stuff going on. And it's like, and also him using about randomly suddenly cares about heaven. So like all this anecdotal stuff, and of course, as a journalist, can't say anything definitive. But what I can say is that Homeboy's moving like he's running out of time in a lot of ways. And what I do think, especially, he's running out of political time. That's what I could say with 100% certainty. So we have that simultaneous aspect where all these people, they're trying to rush this legislation, big, beautiful bill, especially because they know the midterms are coming, and Donald Trump now, the ballroom stuff, a lot of weird legacy stuff happening that Donald thinks, Donald knows this is his final hurrah. And that's what I think, again, what brings us back to everything else, is why now it's finally settled in to people. It's almost over, right? It's like, oh, we're not in the reality where Donald's president for life. We're not in the reality where Donald gets a third term. That's not happening. It's not going to happen. first off, he's already conceded it. It's just not feasible, and now there's no appetite because he's now being seen like very much in the first term like a loser, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how he's getting that stink on him again, where it's now woke is back culturally. That's a whole other topic. But also it's just he's not strong. He's not seeing strong anymore, and that's the thing where it's like he's trying to rush all this stuff out. He is now in a lame duck mode where normally that happens next year, but the 2025 elections were so seismic, as we talked about in our last conversation, that it shook the entire Republican Party, and now they're moving different. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene is bouncing, and now the Republicans are wondering whether they should leave, and more people are going to be defying him in more subtle ways. It doesn't mean he's going to be fully not dangerous. He'll probably get more dangerous as he gets more desperate. But I think everyone recognizes now there's a time box. It's now we have 3 more years of this, three and a half more years of this in a few months, and he's going to do a lot of damage on his way out, but he will be gone. And that's what is dawning on the political universe right now is the post-Trump era and the fact that there will be a post-Trump era, and y'all have been acting like this guy's God King and doing this man's bidding when he doesn't give a damn about what happens to y'all. And he will actively attack you after years of loyalty. The way he turned on Marjorie Taylor Greene is insane.
I mean, it was just like
it's insane.
And I'm telling you, do you remember when that woman waited on the tarmac for Donald Trump for hours to land and walk right past her? Do you do you remember her almost getting thrown out of the House floor because she was breaking their dress code by wearing all of her election, pro-Trump paraphernalia? And so it should be, right, a signal to the rest of the Republican Party. It doesn't matter how loyal you are, how much you kiss the ring, how much you bend and bow, that like you're expendable. Right? Like that at the end of the day, because if he can do that to her, right, he can do that to all of you. The other thing that I want to say.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say on that specific note, Michael Cohen, to the 2018 was saying this. There's been endless signals this man has one-way loyalty towards him. And it's been pretty obvious. And I think, yet again, another example of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So we'll see. But go ahead.
We'll see. So the 2025 election that just happened a couple of weeks ago wasn't just a seismic shift in recognition and return consciousness to the Republican Party under Donald Trump's spell, but it also was a signal, a flare to the Democratic establishment, right? And I want to get your thoughts because today in the New York Times, they have a piece talking about the precarious situation that Mr. Do Nothing, Chuck Schumer, is facing now in the Senate, that his fellow senators do not like the way that he has been moving, didn't endorse Zoran Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani got an endorsement from Donald Trump before he got one from Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries didn't come out until the 11th hour. But that being said, this group that's being dubbed the Fight Club inside of the Senate is saying that they have no vision for winning back 2020 for winning back the Senate in 2026. They have no long-term vision of what it is to do. That their handling towards the end of the shutdown was more capitulation, right? So what are your feelings about Chuck Schumer, this rising dissent that we are seeing with regard to the Democratic establishment, and the fact that Zoran Mamdani and others are showing themselves to be the future of this party, whether or not the current establishment wants to acknowledge or embrace them whatsoever?
No, I mean, I think I want to start with the Zoran thing because I think that is indicative of the lack of political instincts that Schumer and Jeffries, frankly, have at the moment. The fact Donald Trump knew that it was a good idea to embrace someone that his party, and he just destroyed at least, at least Stefanik's done.
And running to save New York, Donald Trump done said, "I'm about to move back."
Donald Trump said, "I love this guy. Are you kidding me? This guy's my son. Can he be my son?" And I think what happened is like, also there's a whole psychological thing with Donald where he actually loves the people he attacks. He wants the approval of liberals, just the ones that defied and rejected him in New York. That's a psychological thing. But also Zoran's just dope.
It's a charming.
He's just a charming guy. And do you see Truth Social? He posted a grid, all these a photo shoot of Zoran, and then for the first time ever, I saw him post a photo. It was just Zoran and FDR. He wasn't even in the photo. It was just like a snapshot of Zoran. I was like, this man loves this man. And then he started wearing the scarf. I posted a tweet and it was like, yeah, about how like he has one meeting and now he swagged himself out, slipped his hair back. But point is, yeah, it's great. The point is, Donald, who's first off political instincts, say what you want about him, he does, when he actually has his ear to the ground and access to real information, he does seem to have good political instincts a lot in some cases, and this is one of them. And I think with Zoran, he knows Zoran's popular. He knows affordability is the thing, and he knows Zoran is affordability man. So he tried to associate himself with Zoran, and the fact that like people on his own party in a primary he won weren't savvy enough in the state they live in to back this man and embrace him and bro down with him as much as Donald Trump, who's who he called a fascist. Who Trump was like, go ahead, you can call me anything you want. So
It's okay.
Yeah, and it's just like, again, so I just got to start there because it's malpractice what Zoran and Hakeem did. They fell for the propaganda, the nonsense that was targeting Zoran as an anti-Semite. He was not. Again, I'm married into a Jewish family. They are the bigger Zoran fans than anyone I know. And I'll tell you right now, like, it was foolish of them. So that's one part of it. So the political instincts aren't there. The effectiveness is not there.
Yep.
Schumer, I don't know if he'll even run for re-election. Like you said, we've talked about and you mentioned before. I don't know if he'll run for re-election. I don't know if he should. I think he's one of those people where he's a backroom operator. He's better, and he's one of I hear about there's people who present well on camera, and there's people when you're in a conference room with them, they can really run a room. I hear he's the latter. But his days are gone. You need to be both. You need to be a communicator. You need to be effective. You need to be a strategist. And right now, after the 2025 elections, the Senate is now not an insane possibility to get back, right? It's an crazy uphill battle. But now when something's in reach, you need some guerrilla warfare. You need some real, you need some real motherfuckers in there. And I think Schumer's days are behind him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they swapped him out beforehand. If maybe they should get new leadership in place ahead of 2026 so that they can go ahead and just hit it hard, because they have a shot to take a lot of stuff in 2026. And I think they need the right leadership in place.
I mean, what do folks say about Democrats is that they love to snatch to snatch a victory from themselves, like that's what they're good at, right? And my feeling is that you cannot, and I've been saying this, I feel like ad nauseum for the decade of Trump that we have lived under, is that you cannot continue to use 20th century tools in the 21st century. You cannot continue to believe that you have, and this to me is where you need to step away from your ego as a politician and ask yourself if I still have the level of efficiency and authority that I once did. There was a time when Chuck Schumer was a giant in the Senate. There was a time when he said something, that's what went. He is not that man and has not been that man for at least the last decade. And so I think that I don't like newness for newness sake, because there are older people that have been around that are nimble enough to have new ideas, that are nimble enough to understand that, like, we need to offer something different. My problem with Chuck Schumer is that, one, he continues to try and use the same tactics and tools over and over again, and think that he's going to get a different result when he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two is that, like, the Mamdani piece for me, like you laid out, was disgusting, right? For both the establishment and those 86 Democrats that decided to pass a bullshit resolution. And I loved Zoran Mamdani's response in the Oval Office when he was asked about, what do you think about the 86 Democrats that passed this resolution? He said, I don't pay much attention to resolutions. I pay attention to actual work.
Banger.
Miss me with your empty bullshit that you just did right? Because I'm actually on the ground trying to get work done. And so I think about the mentality of those 86 Democrats, being led by this establishment, old guard of Schumer, Gillibrand, similarly, Jeffries. And I say to myself, they're not even prepared for 2026, let alone 2036, 2046. They're not long-term thinkers. They wrote us a fucking 900-page manifesto, right? Like
I know, I know, I know.
you should have had a counterpoint by counterpoint movement on that shit before it even hit the ground.
I know. I know. And I interviewed Representative Jared Huffman, who is the chairman of this Stop Project 2025 project that they were starting in 2024. It did not have leadership participation. It was not, it had to be done by someone who was just like a savant on the details. And I was like going at it with him. There's an interview I did. People can check it out, but like we went hard. But yes, it was laid out 900 pages. And yet they did not have an effective counter strategy because, again, there are people who do this and they're performers. And it's about the performance and or the job. And they don't really live that life. If you really live that life and you really cared, you would have known all the details of Project 2025. You didn't need researchers and journalists like me or you to be out here warning you about it. Like, writing about it in 2023, begging. I was in 2023 begging Democrats to pay attention to this. And then finally they go there and then they're talking about it and they don't know what they're talking about. Like they would use it as a catch-all, but that's a whole different topic. Point is, you're right. The effectiveness is not there. And when you see Zoran in the Oval Office, that is how you play Donald Trump. I've always thought long and hard what I would do if I was in a room with him.
You mean you wouldn't bring him a trough of gold bricks?
No, I wouldn't bring him a trough of gold bricks. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Exactly, right? You wouldn't. You don't need to give, like even Tim Apple and them. I call him Tim Apple now,
right,
because of what he did. It really broke, it was terrible. But the point is, you play that man like a fiddle. And I know exactly what Zoran did in that room. He said, you know what, Donald, you racked up numbers in New York. You really did. You did such a good job, man, racking up. All these people I talked to, they wanted affordability. And he won that man over. And guess what? Less of a chance that he's going to go as hard on New York with ICE. He'll probably call up Zoran and be like, "Hey, my dog, my homie, I'm hearing reports." Donald will say, "Don't believe those reports, Donald." Donald will say, "Okay." Obviously, threat would still be there, but the point is, Zoran could have gotten a piece of legislation passed after that meeting. Is what I'm getting at. Yep. He changed that guy's mind. Schumer and Pelosi did this. So when you talk about age, it's not just about age, right? Like you said, Pelosi is someone who had her ear to the ground, who had political instincts until the day that she left that speakership and still afterwards knew Joe Biden wasn't up to, like, again, this person had the political sharpness and was able to recognize where the winds were blowing. And you need someone like that as an operator at the House level and the Senate level. And I'm sorry, at the moment, I've not seen that capacity from Jeffries. I've not seen it from Schumer. And I don't know who it's going to be exactly, but you need someone that can go in there who knows how to run Donald Trump and play him like a fiddle, who can get stuff done. I wonder if there was different leadership, maybe they could have gotten Trump, because now Trump's suddenly talking about the subsidies renewing right now, right?
Oh, and because I said this the other day. I swear to God, I must have said it on my other show. I was like, Donald Trump could do a brilliant thing here. Donald Trump extends those ACA subsidies for 3 years, right? He gets to call himself the healthcare president, right? Because, again, focus on the things that people actually want. You could still run your Gestapo fucking ICE bullshit, but if people could afford their healthcare and their groceries, guess what they're going to do? Not be out in the streets protesting on a regular basis. Some will, but you won't have the masses against you, right? So where is the smart move here? Because, my God, did you see that clip yesterday that was going around of CNN, where CNN is waiting for the announcement of the healthcare proposal, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry. We have some breaking news. Oh, the breaking news is that the Trump policy isn't coming out today.
It doesn't exist. Surprise.
It wasn't even a concept of a plan. There's actually just evaporated water around this bitch. Like, to watch it in real time, 15 years they've had to come up with a a healthcare plan. Nada.
Nothing. And again, like you're saying, it's this very smart thing to do. And first off, if I was Schumer or Jeffries, that's what I would have said to him. If he, I would have said, you know what, Donald? You really want to be, you want to be the savior right now of this shutdown? Be the healthcare president. Do this if you really wanted that to get done. But then again, now that he's not doing it, they're cooked. Like, you're right. He's not addressing basic affordability because just to bring it back to what you were saying earlier about the fact that smart authoritarians that actually rise, they have to build popular mandates and they have to feed the people. And if you say, fuck you people,
Yep.
and pay me, basically, fuck you, pay me,
Yep.
enrich me, I'm going to enrich myself. I'm going to raise these tariffs unilaterally with no end goal. I'm not even going to tell you guys there's a logical economic coherence to this policy. I just want to raise your prices because I'm angry or because I want Brazil to not jail Bolsonaro or like there's no coherence. And Americans are looking at this saying, why are you raising our prices, Donald? And he says, oh, I'm actually pissed at Canada because of an ad. That's why I'm raising your prices. And it's like,
right. It ain't got
there's
nothing
no,
to do with you.
it got nothing to do with you. It's, and then he's spending his time trying to failing to prosecute his political opponents, enriching himself in crypto schemes and doing all of this stuff in front of your face. Meanwhile, there's already an anti-oligarchic movement rising. There's already populist sentiment flowing. And then you're going to become the embodiment of that. And instead of having Russell Vought behind the scenes carrying out Project 2025, you put out the richest man on the planet with a chainsaw on stage as a visual representation of how you are allowing an oligarchy to genuinely fuck over the American people. And then you expect there not to be backlash. It's just the total brain drain in this administration and the information bubble that he finds himself in this time. He's on Truth Social this time instead of Twitter. He's has Stephen Miller around him. He has Scott Bessent instead of Gary Cohn. Like he has sycophantic fools around him that are just in it for themselves. And they're basically like, if I was Zoran, if I was one of these people who were in a room with him, I'd be like, dude, I would see some paranoia in him. I'd say, you need to look at the people around you. Because they're failing you.
For you.
They're failing you. Look, they're tanking your presidency. Steve, you need to take a look at Stephen Miller. He's doing some weird shit. Like, get in this man's head, bro, down with this guy and tell him that these other people, like, because that's what's happening. That's what's actually happening is that no one is buffering his worst instincts. He's getting older. He's not in reality anymore. And they're just running their own agendas and tanking his presidency because he wants them to do it. You need guardrails. First term, there was guardrails. Therefore, we were protected from Trump. Second term, no guardrails except the courts and these other things. But my overall point is we are seeing Trump's presidency begin to go down in flames. And I know it might sound hyperbolic, but I think we're at the beginning of it. The threat is still very real. But like, as someone who was literally in the weeds of Project 2025 back in the day and documented every day of his presidency and have had threat level alarms raised at various times, I really think homeboy fumbled his dictatorial ambitions in year one. I think the chances are way down. Threat is still there. Chances are maybe 40, 30%.
I was going to say, give us the rainbow color code. What threat level do you think that Donald Trump started at with his administration back in January to now? What threat level do you think that we're at? If we're looking at like the color code of threat level, red being it, orange being on our way, yellow kinda,
I think we were red right at the beginning. Yeah. I think once he appointed his cabinet, started to be a little bit lighter red because like, oh, they're incompetent, but they're still very dangerous. I think we've gotten down to a lighter orange.
I think we're in a lighter orange.
I think we're in a lighter orange.
Same page. I think
we're at a lighter orange and an appropriate color too, given the context. A lighter orange. We're in orange now, and a happy orange. I'm just feeling really good after the last few months after being really, really upset and worried. And you agree? You agree lighter orange now?
I do. I agree lighter orange because I got to be honest, the beginning, right? I would say like the first quarter of the year, I'm like, we got to figure out how to get the fuck out of here. Right. Yeah. Like, and seriousness. And look, I say that and I want folks to understand. I still know people are being kidnapped every single day. We
Yeah.
still don't know actually how many people have died, have been killed in ICE detention, right? We know about the
Yes.
15 or 23 that they tell us about, but we don't know like what the larger number is, and we won't, right? Until they're long, until these folks are long gone out of power. So I'm not saying that there is not danger, and I'm not saying that we
Yes.
still can't, fulfill Martin Niemöller's poem of "First They Came For," right? It's still happening. But I think to the point that you're making and to the point that I'm making is that you have got to see the fissures when they're forming. You got to see the cracks. And my issue with the establishment Democrats is that they don't know how to exacerbate the weakness, right?
Yes.
And that is where, because to me, it's like, I would say, folks, we need to be in a war room every single day. Who's
Yes.
cracking what part of this administration? What seems to be cracking? And how do we put a crowbar
Hmm.
in those cracks to further the crumble? Like,
Yes.
that's the plan that I don't see. I don't hear about. I have my ear to the ground. I ask movement people. I ask activists. I ask folks, like, what's actually happening? Like, where are things moving? Like, is there coordination now that we've had these series of little wins that we need to actually hold, right? We need to hold these wins because they allow us to have hope to be
Hmm.
able to move forward. But if you're not having if you're not creating a war room, if you're not looking to exacerbate these issues, then like you shouldn't be in leadership, right? You don't
Yeah.
deserve to be in leadership. So I want to give the final word to you, my friend.
Yeah, I agree. You need war consiglieres in office right now, not peacetime ones. And I think what you needed, right, is this war room mentality to exploit these fissures and say these are the cracks, dig into them. And honestly, what we're seeing is from the people. What we're seeing is that those fissures are being exploited and emphasized by the people. The No Kings protests, these nonprofit groups, the people on the ground knocking doors, the people who are pressing the advantage, who are out here creating all of these wins and exploiting these weaknesses while Republicans are docile. These people, these liberal groups, they're moving. Everyone is pushing forward and saying, look, this is a weakness. We're going to exploit that. Oh, affordability is an issue. We're going to emphasize that. Journalists, independent journalists, people like us who
Yep.
are out here highlighting these issues and talking about them. It matters. These people going viral, discussing what's going on is key. And I think people who are watching right now, you guys who are paying attention and hitting that like button and subscribing, hopefully, we need that support. You guys are doing the real work too by being out here, being engaged. Average citizens, it's the people who are doing it and pushing Democrats rather than the other way around. Democrats aren't leading the people are leading the Democrats. And now we're seeing that in real time. And I also just want to reemphasize one of your points where you talk about the threat level.
Yeah.
Just so people like you're right. It actually is still danger. I'm talking threat level as in like we aren't at the place where Donald Trump will be dictator, is what I'm
Yeah.
basically saying.
Yeah.
Like the threat level of whether or not Trump will be dictator is now light orange. The damage he's doing is still red.
Right.
It's still red.
Come on.
The
Yeah.
damage he's doing is still red. There's authoritarianism is here in some ways. It's just unevenly distributed and targeting of Latino communities right now. If you're in a Latino community, your threat level is red and you are being assaulted, right? But overall, if we're talking big picture, Donald's not going to be dictator in my current guess and prediction at this moment. I can say that with more certainty than before. But overall, I just think, to your point about that need for exploiting these schisms, exploiting these
Yep.
fractures, is coming from the people. And the people are doing it big, emphasizing these fractures, showcasing it in the elections, showcasing it every day. And going into next year, I really think I would rather be Democrats and Republicans right now because I think they're in to be cooked, flambéed, burnt
Yep.
in the 2026 midterms. And that's not because of Democratic leadership. It's
Nope.
because the people have showed the hell up and said that this is not who we are.
100%. My friend, it's always a good time when we get to do these crossover episodes and conversations. Please tell people before we get out of here how they can support you, how they can continue to follow you and support your work.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, everyone who's been commenting, been seeing you. Thank you so much for watching. I always love these talks with Danielle and love that you guys like them too. Well, you can find me right at the top. Hit that subscribe button. Ahmed Baba News, independent journalism. Become a free subscriber. And if you can, become a paid subscriber to both me and Danielle because the real we're seeing right now, especially with media consolidation, these right-wing billionaires trying to buy up all these properties. It's these independent creators and journalists that are spreading the real truth. So you can find me, ahmedbaba.news, find me on social media. I'm always happy to engage, reply to you guys if you talk to me. And keep subscribing and supporting Danielle, because she is the absolute GOAT. I don't know if you've seen me, Danielle. Sometimes I pop up in your lives and I just put GOAT emojis, or I say GOAT. I don't know if you've seen it, but like I'll just come in there and say GOAT. I don't know, but you're the best.
You just walk in the door and be like,
I just slide in and say goat and dip, like at least a few times a week. So
I love it.
huh.
Amazing. Yeah, folks, I tell you that I always look for creators to collaborate with that speak truth to power, that are unapologetic in the work that they do, and Ahmed is one of those people. We are independent creators, like he said. So subscribe if you're willing, if you like this conversation, you like other conversations, subscribe, support independent creators. And if you do have the ability, we know that times are tough, but if you have the ability to become a paid subscriber, do consider doing that. I will be back live 5 p.m. Eastern for the Danielle Moody Show. Dear friends, Ahmed, thank you so much for your time, for your brilliance, and we will do this again soon.
Yes, thank you for having me, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye, folks.